What's up, guys? Welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Brave Cross video. Hello guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far. First things first, of course, is there won't be another Brave Cross Weekly News this week because there's really not much to say, and their Facebook page is basically non-existent right now. There's a few posts here and there, but I think there was like 2 posts in the last 2 weeks or something. So I'm not going to be going over those. They're basically just a login reward. So in this video, I'll be talking about basically how to build your team, and this time I'll be talking about the attack team. So this is basically a part 2 of my defense edition team. I wouldn't say there's a lot of difference between a defensive team and an attacking team. The main difference is obviously there's going to be a little bit more DPS, and your main goal is of course taking down those defense teams that I have talked about before. And while I'm at it, I might as well do the synergy type teams as well if I do get a chance to do that. If not, I'll probably make it in another video. So let's go over the attack team. Now, there are obviously some similarities with the heroes that you will use in terms of like Shantis, because Shantis is basically a good all-around hero. Fated Dragoon could be added there as well in the bunch. Basically most of the all-around heroes that have decent damage and survivability are all going to be part of the team as well. The main difference is we're not going to be using a lot of the Fated Red Mask teams because Fated Red Mask isn't really a good DPS team or a good DPS hero. Starcaller, maybe you can put it there if you invest enough resources on him. However, there's probably other better DPS heroes than Starcaller, but it does help you with survivability. So like I said, there's a lot of similarities between the two teams. There's probably just 1 or 2 heroes that you probably won't be using in the defense team, or give or take. So I don't really want to give you the same heroes all the time, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, there's going to be similarities, and let's go ahead before I keep repeating myself. I do have my notepad here that I had used before, and as you guys can see, I did have my defense team 1 and defense team 2, and now we'll be talking about the attack team. So the first one I got here is basically the main character, the Fated Shantis, of course, Wizen, Frostbow, and Fated Luna. Now the idea of this team is obviously abandoning any front DPS because most of the front DPS aren't really that great. You have to admit a lot of your DPS comes from behind, which are your Fated Frostbow or of course your Fated Fleur as well. So I might as well right here put that Fated Frostbow or Fated Fleur. Now the reason why I don't add Sohi there is probably because a lot of the teams lately will require you to do AoE damage, and this is because the main problem with Sohi right now, even though she's still the best one-on-one archer in terms of damage wise, like if you had Fated Frostbow, Sohi, and Fated Fleur in the same team, and you're attacking the same I guess target, Sohi with her awakening will still outshine all those heroes. However, because Frostbow and Fated Fleur, they have AoE damage, they can attack things at the back, especially if you're if you're looking at some of these defense teams that I have put up in the past, you probably don't want to put Sohee in there because of the lack of AoE damage. Of course, Sohee is still you can still put Sohee in there if you're not facing a faded red moss or a faded dragoon. Is can be a little bit tricky as well, dealing with faded dragoon with a Sohee because of all the parry damage that he can do, and true strike, which is probably like the biggest damage ever. So this is why I kind of took Sohee out of this first team. So the idea basically with Faded Shantis and Wizen, of course, is to bring your awakening, so your rage bar up to 100%, so you can use your awakening as fast as you can. Now, the main character does that also, and the main character basically gives you that extra survivability, especially if you have final wings. If you don't have final wings, I would probably recommend something else, because without the biggest shield ever, you probably won't be able to survive long. So you can probably switch it up with an Arya, with the mythic ability, because the mythic Arya does give you Haven, which reduces the army damage taken by 9%, which is not a whole lot, but still it is something to increase your survivability. Why? And of course, like I said, Faded Luna is, like in the defense team, is quite good actually, and it increases your range DPS. And I'm going to show you guys what I mean by that by going to the talents, and here it is. Moonlight Formation increase attack of range heroes, those who wield a zither, a bow, or a staff, in range units such as archer, spearman, dancer by 30%. So 30% more damage, I'll gladly take that. And to be honest, this is kind of like an affordable team. You don't really need Faded Shantis. You don't really need Faded Frostbow as well. Faded Luna, you definitely would like to have that, because without the faded version, Luna just dies too fast. So if you guys are on a budget, the main character, Shantis, Wizen, and Frostbow, a normal Frostbow, and Faded Luna are quite affordable right now. Faded Fleur, you do have to get the Faded Fleur, because the normal Fleur is basically a crap hero, I must say. And if you're gonna go with a normal Fleur, you might as well go with Sohee, which is much more affordable, and does quite a lot more damage than a regular Fleur. Now, my team 2 here right now is kind of like the synergy. So this is what I mean by synergy. I'll go back for more attack teams later, but I would like to talk about this synergy as well, because I don't really want to talk in 2 videos about this, because they are both sort of like attacking teams in a way. So this is a great synergy team that I actually found when Great Sage first came out. So got Great Sage. Unfortunately, it's very hard to get his shards before, and now you can get it, but it's like you're getting 1s and 2s every day, so it takes a while to get to 7 stars, especially if you haven't gone through the whole story quest. So Great Sage Shantis I would put there instead of Arya if I do have a Shantis. Main character, Dire Zion and Sohee. Now Sohee is obviously interchangeable. Like I said, probably a Faded Frostbow or a normal Frostbow would be good. A Faded Fleur wouldn't hurt as well. I'll put that in there. But I would probably go with the Faded Frostbow here, because it does have more synergy with this team. Now the idea here is Great Sage will probably use his Awakening first, basically raising everyone up and they're unable to attack. And then Shantis will use her awakening as well. It can be Fated Shantis. Fated Shantis is probably a good extra because it does the same thing that Great Sage does, which is lift your enemy opponents so they can't attack. So, and once they drop, basically your main character in Dire Zion will either stun them. Basically, they'll be locked in this cycle where Great Sage or Fated Shantis will lift them up. Once they're down, AoE stun will happen with Dire Zion or your main character. And Fated Frostbow is basically there to do the extra damage. Now, a normal Frostbow would probably work a little bit better, but at the same time, a Fated Frostbow will AoE them anyway. So it's give and take. I would probably pick the Fated Frostbow just because of her extra abilities. And basically, this stucks your opponent in the loop where they go up, they go down, they get stunned, and they get damage. And of course, they get frozen as well because of Fated Frostbow's ability. And why I said a normal Frostbow is better, because those birds can actually freeze them as well. I know Fated Shantis can freeze opponents as well, but those birds, you know, they can definitely freeze targets. So it's basically an eternal cycle of basically getting stuck in that loop. Now, I know what you're guys thinking. Why aren't a lot of people using this? Main problem is the survivability of this team. And a good defense team with a Fated Red Mass would probably survive it in a way because of the archer damage. If Fated Red Mass gets keep recovering, it can happen. And if you don't have final wings in that Fated Red Mass has a star color, it makes it a little bit more difficult to actually pull off. But it is one of the greatest finds that I made. It has been, if you look through my old videos, it's one of my old PvP teams, and I really broke like the top 20 with this team up until, of course, they released 6 stars and all that, and the Fated Red Mass, which kind of ruined me with this team. Great Sage isn't that great in survivability, and because he's basically a DPS front hero, and if you're basically fighting a Fated Frostbow as well, especially if they have Wizen in that team, it sort of counters because they get to awaken first. Now the main character here can obviously be switched with Wizen, but if you're on a arena type battle, you can't get rid of your main character. But if you are in a cross arena, you can definitely change your main character to Wizen. Now, I did say I wanted to go back to the first attacking team, and what I did here is I actually typed out my third team. Basically, instead of the main character and Wizen being 2 different heroes, I added Fated Dragoon. Now, a lot of people actually have been arguing between Fated Dragoon and Fated Empyrean. And I have voiced my opinion on this, that Fated Dragoon is actually the better DPSer in between both of them. I might say maybe Empyrean maybe a tad little bit better in terms of tanking. But True Strike, that True Strike is definitely the game changer when it comes to DPS. I don't know exactly the math with like the true damage and stuff like that, because it doesn't really tell us anything in the game. So unfortunately, I don't know how else you can sort of, you know, calculate what the true damage is. But the the ability to parry and give 200% true attack damage is very high in compared to 20% for everyone with Imperium, which is basically, if you add it up, it goes up to 100%, I guess, but it's only like 20% for each hero. So you're not dealing a good lot of damage with that. So, and I have voiced this as well with my Legion mates, and they do agree Fated Dragoon is the better hero. Now, it is quite debatable. You can argue, you can put Fated Imperium there if you want. I'm not gonna judge you if you do, but for me personally, just for my own personal reasons, Fated Dragoon is actually a better hero, just because of the ability for like that parry attack. Now, you can obviously take Fated Dragoon out and have two range heroes like Fated Frostbow and Fated Fleur together, and this basically will increase your DPS. The only reason why I try not to do that is because of survivability reasons. Like I said, again, if you're fighting a red mask team, you're gonna get your butt kicked if you have a lot of these range DPS, well, archer DPS. If you do have if you have to fight a red mask, you do have to have like a magic base range team that red mask won't be able to touch you from the front. So you have to have a good front hero that can sort of take damage, and you have a good magical presence when you're taking down red mask. That's the biggest tip I can give you guys when it comes to taking down red mask. But in terms of just fighting someone without a red mask, probably you would put the two sort of two archer DPS in there. Now, I may have missed quite a lot of different types of synergy teams, and one of them is probably the new synergy between Cyclone and Flame Fist. Now, I did manage to managed to see how that worked out, and I must say, I will type out this team. So team 4 is another synergy team, which makes up like Fated Cyclone or just normal Cyclone. It doesn't really matter. Fated Red Mask has to be, and Fated Flame Fist could be your main hero, your main character / Wizen, and it could be any of the archers. I'll just put archer DPS. So the way this works is Cyclone's Awakening basically groups up all your enemy opponent's hero and dumps them in front, which makes it so Red Mask can actually do a lot of damage between all of them. And of course, Flame Fist is the good hero that, the synergy hero that you need with Cyclone, so you get that burn damage so they run away. I probably wouldn't recommend the Flame Fist there. I found Fated Cyclone and Fated Red Mask to work better together than obviously Fated Cyclone and Flame Fist. I mean, that could work as well, but the synergy between Fated Cyclone and Fated Red Mask is undoubtedly much better in the defense team. So I wouldn't say this is actually an attack team, but it's a synergy team. So if you have Fated Cyclone and Fated Red Mask, that could work with your defense team because that can give your Red Mask a lot of lifesteal damage. And the reason why I put this in attack team is because, like I said, this is an attack and a synergy type team, and you can definitely use it to your advantage. Um, you know, it's one of those things that I just thought of, and I actually saw someone use this and it kind of worked against me. And I must say I was quite impressed. I did have that idea, but I didn't have the cyclone to pull it off. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, that actually worked. That's pretty good. A good synergy team. So I guess that's all I can think of right now in terms of the attack in the synergy type teams. And if I do miss something, please leave a comment below and let me know what kind of compositions you guys have. And anyway, I think this is it for this video. I've talked long enough between the attack team and the synergy team. I gave you hopefully great examples, and if you guys have examples, please leave them in the comment below. Like I said, if I missed something and if you guys are using a good synergy team, please let me know in the comments below, and I'd like to try it out for myself as well. Anyway, I think this is it for this video. Please remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I'd like to hear from you guys about your synergy teams, your attack teams, even your defense team in this video. And also follow me on Facebook, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys next level.